Well, hello, hello, and surprise, surprise, the webcam isn't working right now. We'll fix that. Maybe. We'll see if we can fix it. Okay, it's turned on and oh, there we are. Good, good. It's a little bit of a little too close. Let's zoom back out again. There we are. That's a little better. No, and we need it a little lower. Okay, things are coming into focus. All right, so we are continuing this work that I've been interrupted by just life things so many times while I've been working on this. Uh, so I have not made as much progress as I would have liked, but well, no, we're in a good place. We're in a good place now. So basically what I'm doing is to recap again, I'm just making it so that we can use some login magic links also for invites, and I had to restructure the way the errors were so that I could do that, and I could distinguish between an error that is a failed code versus an error that is simply a link is expired. Because if the link's expired, we don't care, because we're going to redirect them to the resource if they have access to it. If the link is expired and they don't have access to the resource, and we're not going to give them access to the resource. But that's kind of the idea. And so, yeah. Before we get started, it is morning time. And you know what that means? It means...
Give me a chance to wake up, sweetheart.
Actually, I can't hear that. I didn't hear it, but I presume it was there. Anyway, pop top, my friends. Let's open a good old can of Mr. Mountain Dew. Have a word from our not a sponsor. Whoop. If I could just get my finger underneath the tab here, we could do it. Oh. Ah, there we go. Ha 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 ha. And now that we have open focus, let us get to the meat of the problem. Okay. So, oh, and let me open the chat too. So I got the chat. There we go. Yeah, I did the do. What's up, Golf Naboo? Hey, it rhymes. Do the do, Golf Naboo. Yeah, we got it. All right. So last time, hopefully, that I'm going to have to do this. What I eventually realized is that because the error checking is all kind of in the same place, and it doesn't make sense to duplicate it just for this, or I thought, maybe it could. Basically, what I did is I made this property failed validation, and we set it to true by default. We said basically make everything strict by default. No double redeem, no double exchange, failed validation. And so basically, there's a couple different ways that you could use this link. Literally there are, I guess, 3, because you could check the status. You could try to redeem it on the original computer from which it was issued, and you could try to exchange it on the computer which it's being opened. So for example, you can start the process on the computer, open link on your phone, you should get signed into both devices. So you could use it, you could consume it twice. And you can check it multiple times. You should be able to check it, I suppose, even after that. So anyway, that's what the no double redeem and no double exchange is for, is that you can redeem it once, and you can exchange it once. And then the failed validation is, since, for example, we can check it, and that might result in an error, but we don't want to fail. We want to know the difference between an error that, say, we checked it and the code was valid, but it was expired, versus we checked it and the code was invalid and it's expired. So I think that's an adequate explanation. Feel free to ask me questions. By the way, feel free to have conversation and chat, whatever. I am at work, so I am going to try to stay on topic here, but just like chat at the water cooler, it's okay if we take a minute or two here and there. Yeah, so I feel good about this whole bit here. The number one error that we're concerned about is if it's been tried too many times. That indicates that if this has happened, then it's not possible to get these other errors anyway. So we'll check to see, hopefully that's actually the least common error. But then we're checking to see if we should throw the error about it being redeemed. Then we're checking to see if it's been canceled or deleted, which are highly unlikely. But you can, when you get the email that says, "Hey, you've tried to log in," or we've received a request to log in, we want you to be able to have a cancel link to say, "No, that wasn't me." So if you click "No, that wasn't me," it just invalidates the link, plain and simple. And then of course the expired. The links can last for various amounts of time. The time doesn't really matter so much how long the link lasts because of the max attempts. So you have to balance entropy, max attempts, and max time. And max attempts is probably the simplest one to, somebody, I think it's reasonable for somebody to try a code maybe 5 times, because they try it once, it didn't work. What? Isn't it right? And then they just try again immediately. So 2 are already gone. And then when they realize that it's wrong, then they actually look at it and then they maybe type it out a second time and then maybe they still get it wrong. At that time, they probably will give up and go on to do something else or request a new link, but they might realize, oh, that's not a number 9. That's a speck of dirt on my screen. That's actually a number 0, something like that. Anyway, so that's kind of the rationale behind it. And the time, the expiration time, maybe it's 2 days, maybe it's 15 minutes, depends on the sensitivity of the link and what they're being invited to, or with the type of login that it is. But that's the error handling. That's what it's been simplified to. And this failed validation basically amounts to whether they're going to get a 403 or a 400, and that's how we distinguish between the error codes. So that is what I've done. That's a recap. That was just as much for me as it was for you in terms of the benefit, because I was distracted. Like I said at the very beginning, I was distracted several times yesterday as I was working on this, just because of various things. I had to deal with a call about insurance, had to deal with just various things came up. And so I needed, for my own sanity, okay, did I actually complete this the way that I think I did? Yeah. All right, so the next bit, and again, feel free to jump in, ask questions, whatever. I'm AJ, for those of you joining in. I'm also AJ for those of you still here. I continue to be AJ regardless of the state of the world around me. Okay, so we had the challenge create. I don't think I have to worry about anything here. There was somewhere, where did we define max attempts and age? Duration. That's what I'm calling it externally, duration. So 24 hours is what we want the duration to be. That makes sense. You might want to bump that to 48, but that's something that can be passed in as an option here. So the create, I don't think there's too much special going on. We're creating the code, and then do we call the notify function here? I don't think we do. No, we don't. That's good. That's good. That's one layer up. Oh, and I did not put in the error for code not found. So let me go do that real quick. So lib errors, code is valid, and then this shouldn't actually be is redeemable anymore. I should flippy flop this and say not is redeemable, but past validation, which that's kind of an active word. Okay, good. Yeah, past validation is false by default. That's the way it should be. So we have to pass in true. So that was one error code that we needed. And then what was the other one? Oh, I should change this up here too. Past validation. And you'll notice I'm using JSDoc and I'm using the TypeScript type hinter. So I don't like TypeScript. I think it's a bunch of garbage. But the TypeScript checker is the best tool that we have for type linting in JavaScript as far as I'm concerned. It's not very good, but it's better than anything else we have. And by it's not very good, I mean, well, neither JSDoc nor TypeScript were designed for JavaScript. TypeScript is designed as a scripting language for C# and kind of shoehorned into the JavaScript space. And JSDoc was, I'm pretty sure, I haven't actually looked this up, but I'm pretty positive JSDoc is a ripoff of JavaDoc, and it just tried to follow all of the Java patterns with all the, inheritance style stuff, which is stuff you just don't need in JavaScript. But so there's some patterns that are kind of weird, that are common JavaScript patterns that are weird to represent in JSDoc. Anyway, what I want to do here, I want to have the code not valid. So here's all my code stuff here. So I'd like to put these in alphabetical order. I don't think I've actually done that. That's okay. Oh, bless me. There was, what was it? I'm looking for something. I had these separated. Oh, could be the result of user error or developer error. So code not found. What am I saying about that? That's probably, that's most likely, let's see, get, do we have, I think we have a developer error for if the ID is not given. That would definitely be a developer ID error. Code not found, I guess, could be a user error. But I think it's probably a user error. Now, that's how I was separating these in the file, was errors that are likely created by a user versus likely created by a developer. Okay, that's how I had these separated. So we're going to go to, we're going to do code not found. So half copied a link, mistyped a link, whatever. Okay, yeah. And then I'm going to go create that error real quick. There's my code redeemed, code retry. Let's just take code retry. And yeah, let's just put it up top here, I guess. Might as well just put it the very first one. That would be alphabetical order for it. Okay, code not found. Do we have any other not found errors? Because maybe I just copy them. No. That verification ID doesn't have that verification ID doesn't exist. It may have been mistyped, or the URL may not have been copied completely. And then we're going to do E not found, and that's going to be a 400 level error, because that's, I mean, we could potentially say it's a 403. I don't know. I don't know that it makes much difference. That one, let's see, code not found. There's nothing you can do with it anyway. It's just completely useless. Okay, so there's our error message for that. This is not actually in the standard, but the error code 420 is something that I always appreciate it when I see it. You know, it's one of those things where when you come across it, you hit a rate limit and the error you get back for the rate limit is 420 enhance your comm. It just makes you feel good inside. So I like to use that one for rate limit errors. I think that was started by Twitter. Maybe it was started by GitHub. I don't remember who started it. If you Google it, then you'll figure it out. But yeah, that's one of the pseudo error codes. Speaking of Twitter, someone on Twitter told me that I should not be looking for something to keep my soda cold, because I should not be sipping it slowly, because it'll do more damage to my teeth. Little do they know, the damage to my teeth is done. All right, so now actually I need to take one step further back. Let me look at this holistically again. Okay. So I guess I could look on this bit here. This is kind of what I want to look at. How are we going to use this? I need to go look at order verification, check status, redeem code, exchange, receipt. I need to go look at those methods. So let me go look at those in the code. And that's under session. Or it's not. Is it under lib no, magic? Yeah, it is. Is that a magic link? It is. Okay, it is. Okay, so we have order. And again, this refers to order following the nomenclature of the Let's Encrypt specification. You're ordering a challenge. You're ordering a challenge. You're making an order for a token. I don't know exactly. I don't know if it's the right wording, but you're saying, hey, can I have a challenge that I might fulfill, please? And then you're going to either fulfill it or you're not. Okay. So we have verifier, notify. That one, I think I don't want to do. Let me go. Okay, order verification. So this one, just order, is the shorter one. I don't think I want to have the notify in here. In fact, I kind of want to take a look at the notify again. This is one of the pieces that we may just get rid of. We'll stop using for now. In the next version, we might not include it. But this verifier bit, oops, I mean, dang it, what did I just do? Magic link, I need live verify. There we go. Notify. I just kind of want to see, what does this do? Yeah, this doesn't have a lot of value in it. I'm not sure. Yeah, the main value of this is right here, what it gives us. Do we use notify anywhere else? Because I just don't think notify really belongs there. Hey, the Neverworld. You are welcome. So the one thing that I didn't say about semicolons, well, I kind of did, but it's good to have a mistake that reveals why semicolons are needed, but it's hard to contrive one. I do want to just give you a quick idea of what that's like. So let me show you one of the exceptions to the rule. Let's say that you have some sort of expression. So let x equals, and then this is going to be a little bit tough, but we'll do 4 times 2 plus 2. This is a valid expression. Now, if we go to the next line, and it's hard to say the reason that you'd want to do this, but let's say that we're going to create an anonymous function on the next line. So not something that's super common to do, but something that's valid. So on the next line, we're going to create an anonymous function, and we're going to take in x, and then we're going to, I don't know, again, it's contrived, so I apologize. Contrived examples are always difficult to follow, but this is valid JavaScript. It's valid to say, let 4 times 2 plus 2, that's perfectly valid. And it's valid to have an anonymous function that takes in a variable from above and then does something with it in a closure. Let's say that, here's a reason that we might want to do this. So say you're going to have a set timeout. Let's say we're going to do that for 1,000 seconds. So sometimes you might want to use an anonymous function like this, so that, especially in the old days, so you could put something in a set timeout. So this is valid JavaScript until I hit save, and then Prettier is going to show us our mistake. Now look what happened. That is why you should use semicolons. Now, granted, if you're using all the linting tools and Prettier and all that, when you make this kind of mistake, it's going to become very apparent. And depending on which linting tool you're using, it might actually say, well, wait a minute, it would make more sense to put a semicolon here, and it might put the semicolon there for you. Now, if you're getting your code rewritten, then you're probably going to notice, wait a minute, this doesn't look quite right. But if you don't have your tooling set up properly, there's just situations where something that seems benign. So let's go back to what this was. Perfectly valid JavaScript. We're going to do something with math, and so we put parentheses towards the end. We're going to do something with an anonymous function. This isn't the kind of situation that it would come up in, but this is of the type of situation that it comes up in. And then if it actually runs, the way that it runs is like this, where it tries to treat 2 plus 2 as a function and then call this function on it. It's weird. Anyway, so that's a demonstration of why semicolons are necessary. And there's two or three other situations that are similar to this, where the same kind of thing will happen, where if you don't have a semicolon, because let's back up, just to be clear, put our semicolon there, boom. Does what we want it to do. But there's a few situations like that. And that said, hey Josh, will you clip that bit there about the semicolons? We should probably title that, "Why Bother with Semicolons?" Or "People who don't use semicolons are evil." Or I don't know what to call it, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, Josh is my editor, for those of you that are new to the channel. So I try to we're now getting on a cadence of at least one clip a week. So we're quite a ways behind since we started this relationship of he being my editor. There was a lot of just kind of getting things figured out, and well, he's more than the editor, he's also the channel manager. And so if you ever have any ideas, feel free to throw out in the comments, "Hey Josh," and then whatever. And then I don't know. Anyway, we'll get back here to the what was it, verifier. We're looking at the verifier. We're looking at Magic Link, how Magic Link uses the verifier. We're specifically looking at notify. Okay. And I think I just want to get rid of the notify out of here. And I think that I will. So I think we're going to go with, there's an order verification result, All right, and then what are the ops here? And the request. Okay, and I think what we're going to do here is we're going to change this up to be rec.authn.order. We're going to move that to order verification. And we're going to put this after, in here, there was a place where we specifically call it order, isn't there? I think that's why I made this. Order. Okay, yes. There's a place where we're calling order. And so here, okay. Maybe, let's see. I have to think about this one. Okay. So we're going to order this. I'll check that comment in just a second. I need to work through this in my brain. Order is the result. Okay, I still need to see. Let me go back to the verifier here. So I actually don't want to null this out. I don't know that I want to do any of this. Yeah, I think. think I want to get rid of the use of this notify function. Okay. CryptoLib. Couldn't that get that to work on the client? I use JS encrypt. What are you talking about? CryptoLib. What do you mean? CryptoLib for what? So web crypto is what you would use in a browser. I would not recommend using other libraries in general. 2048-bit encryption good enough for long time storage? No. So 2048-bit encryption is RSA, public-private key pair. Web crypto is for browsers, yes. And a public-private key pair is not suitable for storage. It's suitable for small messages that are less than 2 kilobytes. So no, you would not want to use that. That's a secret exchange algorithm. It is not a encryption. It's not for encryption in the sense of I'm going to encrypt this file and send it to you. It's for encryption. It's in the sense of I'm going to take my encryption key, I'm going to encrypt my encryption key, and I'm going to send it to you. So you use it for small, tiny messages that basically fit in the width of the signature of the key. And then, so you would be using, if you need something for storage, you would be using AES encryption, and AES 128 is good enough. AES 128 is equivalent to 2048-bit RSA in terms of the entropy. Because with the RSA, what you're dealing with, the thing that's tricky about RSA, is what you're dealing with is the prime number key space. So if we're looking at 128 bits of entropy in whole number key space, let me actually adjust this a little bit again. Okay. Excuse me as I fiddle with the camera. I was doing something else yesterday. Okay, so if you're looking at the whole key space of numbers from 0 to really, really big number in the 128 key space, every number is a valid number. But when you're looking at RSA encryption, only every prime number is a valid number. And it's actually really difficult to determine if a number is truly prime. There's a concept of, there's basically a trick to find out if a number is likely to be prime, but it is very difficult to determine if a number is actually prime because you have to exhaust the entire key space to determine if it's truly that there are no other primes before it. So in the RSA key space, you're dealing with numbers that are likely prime, and I mean you can think about it like this: the likelihood of something being prime, if it's divisible by 2, you know it's not prime. So you've eliminated literally 50% of the key space. And then if it's divisible by 3, you know it's not prime. So now you've eliminated literally 1/3 of the key space. And then if you know it's divisible by 5 or 7, you know it's not prime. So now you've eliminated another 20% and 12%, 13% of the key space. So you can get within a margin of error pretty quickly just marching through a few prime numbers down at the bottom. You know, if you did the first 100 prime numbers, then you will have eliminated the vast majority of the prime key space. But that's why the numbers need to be so big when you're working with primes, is because you're not looking at every number being valid. You're looking at only prime numbers being valid. And since there are so few prime numbers, you need really, really, really big numbers, 2048-bit numbers. By the way, my bot that told me to remind you, if you do like this content, you find it useful, consider thumbs up, subscribe, consider sharing with a friend. And also you can join the Discord if you want to. Okay. Do you have the site for web crypto docs for client and server? So you don't use web crypto for server, you use web crypto for the client. Although maybe it's landing in Node. I don't know. So the best web crypto documentation. So first of all, I wrote key pairs. And key pairs is a good tool that is, oh no, wait, this is the Go version. I think it's key pairs JS is the JavaScript version. Let's see. Yeah. Here's the JavaScript version. This will work in client and server, or it should. I think this is the most up-to-date version because I had 2 versions and then I slimmed it down to 1. And if you build it with, so Webpack. So I had it, so when you build it with Webpack, or you should be able to use any build tool, it will use appropriately either, let me go into the code here. It says view code. Let's go under package JSON. So you can see here, if it's being built for a browser, it will include these files instead of the files that are for nodes. So by default, it's going to use libnode key pairs, libnode ECDSA, libnode RSA, libnode SHA-2. But if it's being built for a browser, it's going to include these ones instead. And so this is, I made it for myself because it's what I needed. So key pairs JS is what I have to recommend because it's the thing that I felt was the best thing to use. I think that most of the other libraries out there, at least at the time that I built this, were mostly garbage. And so I built this one to use modern, standards compliant cryptography with Node and web crypto. So I did not roll my own crypto. I used what was available in web crypto for the browser and the crypto lib for Node, and just provided those in a way that I could do common operations with them. There's a website, there's a repository somebody made with a bunch of examples. If I just look for web crypto examples, this is probably the best place to go. I think this is the one. Let's see if this looks, this looks right. So these are the web crypto examples I would recommend. Web crypto examples. Let's see. I can authenticate using signature in the browser. What is it that you're trying to do? Storing pub key in the database. So yeah, kind of, sort of. So are you trying to build self-sovereign identity? Because I have gone down this route and it is a challenging route. It is not for the faint of heart. That's, when you say that, that's what comes to mind. E2EE. Let's just see what this is real quick. End-to-end encrypt. Yeah. So you should be using HTTPS for end-to-end encryption. That's what you should be using. If you are using web crypto, or not web crypto, WebRTC, I'm pretty sure WebRTC has its own encryption. Let me double check on that. Let's see, peer transfer. Yeah. So WebRTC will do encryption for you. There are cases where you legitimately need your own system for doing encryption for a particular application over the network. And you'd use standard encryption. You're not rolling your own crypto, but you would use standard encryption that's available. But my question is, are you sure that you need that, and you're sure that another existing technology doesn't fit the bill? Like WhatsApp, it's storing everything online in a database. Okay, so there you might want to take a look at, are you familiar with, oh gosh, what's the name of it? Keybase. Keybase has all of their libraries available. Well, all might be a strong word. Keybase has a lot of stuff available in Go and in JavaScript. So this is, they after the big hack with Zoom acquired them. So I think that I was going to say, I think they're a dead company, but maybe Zoom just acquired them to look as though they were security safe, because it looks that these are still being updated. So I don't know. But this is a place that I would recommend looking at the repositories here for how they're doing things, because what they're doing is probably very similar to what you want to be doing. Yeah, RSA 2048-bit won't work for storage. It will only work for small messages. Yeah, well, I mean, if you're currently using 2048-bit RSA, it doesn't work. If you try to encrypt a message that's larger than 2 kilobytes, and then you try to unencrypt it, you're going to find that you got nothing. You didn't get anything back, because it's going to you're probably just going to be getting a hash. Normally with RSA functions, if you pass in large data, it hashes it, or it only uses the first 2 kilobytes. So I'm not quite sure. I mean, I guess you could use it in a way that you could pass in a block and pass in another block and pass in another block. But that's going to be really slow because RSA is not a block cipher. So you would want to use AES. AES, if you combine AES, I think it's CBC, with a hash, then that is sufficient for determining that your message is untampered with. There's also AES GCM, which includes a hash as part of the encryption. But I don't know that that's as suitable for large data as is just putting it through the AES CBC and then having a hash separate. So you'd have the data encrypted and then you'd have the hash. You could either have the hash of the encrypted data or you could have the hash of the unencrypted data. You probably want the hash of the encrypted data, and you just want it. That's how you would know, because it is possible that encrypted data would decrypt and give you there are many keys that are valid for decryption that are not valid for decrypting the contents correctly. And likewise, there are many contents that can be decrypted with a key that are not the original contents. So you can tamper with a message, not necessarily in a meaningful way. You can't know what your tampering will result in, but you can know that your tampering may result in a valid decrypt that doesn't contain the correct data. Yeah, and I again, I think it's AES-CBC that you want, if I remember correctly. There's 2 of them that are popular. People will say don't use AES-CBC. They're talking about when you do transfer, such as the web browser, you want to use AES-GCM because it includes the hash in the stream. But if you're doing long-term storage, you would probably, there's 2 things that you'd want to append to your message. So you'd want to encrypt your message, and you'd probably want to start the message with I forget what the name of it is, but it's the seed bytes that aid with the encryption. It's basically the salt for the encryption. So you usually want to start your message with those bytes. I think it's 8 bytes maybe. I don't. And then you'd want to end with the hash. And so the encryption is somewhat bespoke because this, as far as I know, is not standardized. This is just a convention. But you'd start with the salt. It has a specific name. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the starting bytes for the encryption. And then you would end with the hash. And so you'd know the first 4 bytes or 8 bytes or whatever it is, 16 bytes it might be 16 bytes, are the salt. And you just remove that before you try to decrypt the message. And then likewise, you'd know that the last, however many bytes it is, 32 bytes or whatever, are the hash. And then you just decrypt the stuff that's bookended by those in the middle, all of your blocks of data. And you'd probably first check that the block of data matches the hash and whatnot. And you might want to have the salt included as part of that hash. But yeah. Yeah, it's good for you for taking it on and deciding to learn it. A lot of people say, "Oh, don't ever do anything with cryptography." Well, how are you going to become a cryptography expert if you don't try doing stuff with cryptography? It's good to learn about security and cryptography. With the types of questions that you're asking, would I trust your messages to be safe? Maybe not on your first implementation, But, maybe, I don't know. It does take some level of expertise to feel confident that somebody isn't accidentally introducing a security vulnerability, because there's so many subtle little things. Elon, welcome back. Yes, learning software black magic today. Okay, now, what is it that I have in my copy buffer? What am I trying to do here? Does anybody remember? All right, so we are doing... Okay, I don't actually want to do this yet. So order verification after we call order. Then, and after we call notify, then, whoops, I want to do this. Maybe. Oh, bless me. All right, let's see what notify or notify is all about. Let's see, this is C. What is all this C information? So that's the result. What is all this? All right, I'm just gonna have it. I just wanted to ignore this part. I don't want it to ignore the rest of this. What is this going to be? Auth params. And then let's do it this way. Auth in params. That way, I'm not accidentally ignoring anything in here. Okay. Okay, issuer does not exist on type. Yeah, we can just ignore that, I suppose, for right now. Oh, I'm going to have to go back through and remove so much stuff later on. All right, so we got our order. Bum, 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 bum. What are you complaining about? Stop complaining. Oh, issuer is not defined. Okay, that's valid. Yeah, we can. That's something we do want to address. So let me go back into the verifier and find out where was issuer defined. Issuer was probably defined at a top level scope. So let's go back to Magic Link, and we probably have a place where issuer is defined because we're passing it in somewhere. Interesting. Let me check to see here. I got create routes. Verifier was supposed to have issuer information in it, but I'm pretty sure if we go up one level to session, this should have issuer, right? Isn't issuer right here? Issuer is right here. Okay, so when we go to create, let's see, issuer should be attached to... This code has gotten way more complicated than it needs to be because I've been maintaining backwards compatibility. So it does have the complexity that it needs to have to do that, but I am planning with V1 to rip away the backwards compatibility and just have the smaller, simpler code. But we have to have a nice way to test things out, you know? Can't believe that Twitter guy telling me that I shouldn't drink soda because it's bad for my teeth. Twitter, am I right? Oh. I'm just imagining the situation at Walmart. So I'm in the aisle. I'm looking for a can cooler. somebody else is there, looks like a homeless dude, some hillbilly redneck type. I come from that, so I can make fun of that. And I notice he's looking at the coolers too, and I say, hey, do you know which of these are the best? I hear the Yeti and the coldest are pretty good. I'm looking for something for my soda. And I just imagine him looking back at me. Oh, man, I don't know about that. You really shouldn't be drinking soda. It's bad for your teeth. Meanwhile, his smile only has one tooth in it, That's probably not the Twitter situation, but, just my imagination. I can't do a redneck accent well anymore. Why not? Hold on. Give me a week in Virginia. I'll have my redneck accent back. It's just escaping me. Okay, so I'm back here and I'm looking for, so challenge routes is what I want to be building. Challenge routes. Where's that being built? That's being built here, and we have issuer being passed in right there. Okay, so issuer is in here. To do remove. Let's get rid of that to do. We don't want to remove that anymore. All right, so I'm going to go back to challenge router and note that ish is defined there. Let's go back here. So there's ops, create routes, and then we have ish. There we go. I should go back and type that at some point, I suppose. All right, verification. Order verification is more complex than it needs to be, but whatever. And then, do we not have ops? Cannot find ops. What would we be passing in this case? I don't know. What are we using it for in the other place? I don't know that we're using. I think it's literally just to pass through some information. Let me go check on that. So that would be under verifier. And then we have notify. Notify has ops. And what are these ops? Ops issuer or issuer. Really? And then we call notify. And I don't think we're actually using ops. Okay. So going back here, I don't think we need ops there. I don't know where it could come from. I don't think we need it there. Let's just put empty object. Just so it doesn't cause a problem, because I think that's what it was initially. All right, then I'm back down here looking at this stuff. And I'm thinking with order, is that what this is? With order, I don't even want to call this. So no, we're not going to call notify with order. And we're definitely not going to have that problem. So let me go ahead and get rid of that. And then we might have this problem. What did it do? There we go. So that's all the information that we might want. Yeah, let's go ahead and ignore that TypeScript check there. Okay. So then in this one, we're back here. This is where we care about, we're going to call notify. So we're going to call order, then we're going to call notify, and then we're going to be done with it. Okay. It is so cold today. It is April 13th. We already had things starting to bud, and then it snowed yesterday. It was crazy. I don't need the cooler for my soda right now. It's just as cold as it was an hour ago. Gosh. Sometimes I turn off the heater in here before I go to bed. Well, I was leaving off the heater because it wasn't cold anymore. It was actually getting warm. But then when I get in bed, the blankets just aren't heavy enough. And so then my legs are cold and I can't sleep. I have to cuddle up to my waifu. And she's just so happy to be cuddled. She doesn't even mind that I'm cold. Oh. All right. I think I got this correct. I want to go check back in this other place here. And was this is where we have notify here. And so this if I'm not mistaken, we get rid of all of this. Okay, I had to do consider built-in redirect. I'm going to put that there. I don't think we actually need this notify. C isn't used for anything, so we definitely don't need that there. Let me go back to this. So I think we could just call notify directly. So yeah, we're going to create ops there. We're going to pass through ops here. And so ops.notify, we could just use directly at this point. If this is what we're going to do, we could just do ops.notify. And then I think it's just rec and that there. Whoops. Wait, what do you mean you can't find ops? Wasn't ops right here? Where's ops coming from here? Oh, interesting. I gotta think on that one. All right, now I'm just kind of double checking things. This is tedious stuff. Oh, by the way, the bot says, remember to check out creedsofcraftsmanship.com. That's where I try to accumulate all the best talks on software engineering, presentations, etc. that I find personally. Okay, so where is C defined? C is defined right here. That's where we're creating our code. Do we need to have this order information there? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that was used for. See, now I got to comb back through this code and figure out where that's supposed to go. Because I think the result was in the other place. What do we need this for? Is there a place where we call get code? So result. What's the difference between these two? So one of these, this is the result. Is that the order? That's what we're saying? That's the order? Might need a get order function. I don't remember why I need this auth params. It was something to do with the notify function, I'm pretty sure. I think the notify function was guaranteed to have access to all of these things. So what's this about then? Okay, so this is the result that we want to give back to the client. Okay, to prevent accidental JSONify. JSONification. Is that right? I don't know if that's right. Wow, has it been another 27 minutes already? I guess it has. So, remember, if you like what you like, you get more of what you like. You can come and join us in the Discord if you want, and share with friends. Sharing is caring. Anybody watch the Care Bears growing up? Okay, what was this? Yeah, it was considered. For the auth in the box solution, I do want to have a built-in redirect. I don't know that I want to have one right here for this. Okay, let me go back around. So now notify basically does nothing. Ops, as far as we know, is nothing. And the request object needs to have all the params set. So I think that this goes away. I think everything goes away. I don't think that there's any point in having, because the whole purpose of having C here was to build up this part here. This was the whole purpose of having C at this level. So C is here. So we do not need at all. Yeah, there's no need for, let me go find where notify is. Yeah, all we need is rec. This rec must have rec authn param as the notifier info. Yeah, that's what that is. Okay, cool. I got that. I can't find ops. That's okay. Okay, notify, and then what was verifier? All right, so we're still passing in a verifier. And that verifier still had some high-level ops, right? No? What were the ops it was passing in? Oh, okay. Verifier. Look at create there. Let me look at what those ops are doing here. So create equals. Let's look at this one. Ops. And then what are the ops for? Duration, max age. So this is for overriding the defaults that were set before. And this is for the create function? Yeah. So we're not going to be overriding those. Okay. It does seem that this auth params should basically be what's in the create function. Let me go check that out real quick. Create code, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't have strategy in it. So it does appear to be missing some things. But otherwise, it looks pretty close. Attempts. Yeah, so some of this stuff's different. I'm not quite clear on why it's different. Oh, this represents the code itself, not the auth params. This represents what's going to the notify handler. Yeah, so I think this actually should be a little bit different. Let me figure out what the implementation of the notify handler is. I'm going to go look at my real code for that real quick. And I do need to be heading out soon. I need to go grab myself some Taco Bell and get to the war room, as it were. Okay. So let's go to libauth. Let's check out the notify function. Where did I put the notify function? Notify. So it doesn't even take ops. And it does take type value secret code ID duration. Rec auth in. Let's do dot notification. Yeah, what's up, David? How you doing? Yeah, did you know that they got sued over that? Because apparently they hired an agency to come up with the concept for the advertising campaign. They basically had a bid system. And so an agency came up with, okay, here's our idea that we'd want to work out for you. They took the idea, created the campaign themselves, and then didn't pay the agency. I don't know why you would want to do that. I don't know why you would do that. You know? Why would you have agencies make a bid and then steal from them? That just sounds like trouble, you know? You should, if you hire an agency to do something for you and you like their work, then you might want to consider working with them. And if not, you need to have some sort of agreement in place that if they're doing significant work as part of the bidding process, that you pay them to submit the bid. You pay them their consulting rate for the bid, you know? Or have something in place that whatever they come up with for the purpose of the bid, you know, you could say that you own it, but then you have to put in what you are paying them for that bidding process. And why not just go with them? You know, they'd probably execute it better than you would anyway if they came up with the idea, right? You'd think. Okay. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. Let's see. And we've got all of this here. Okay, I think we can leave it as is for now. I think this is good. So the question is, bless me. Let me go back to order verification because this is what I'm ultimately replacing. Dev send code. Let's see, where does that go? That's all the way down the heck down here. Seriously? Is this in the same function? Yeah. Okay, I think that's that to do, I think is what I'm doing right now. There we go. So that puts that in the right place. I had this whole thing about localhost, but it turned out I didn't want that. So yeah, this moves over. This notify just becomes notify. Really, camera? Really? Why don't you tell us what you think? The camera apparently thinks that something isn't in focus that should be in focus, and it wants to let us all know by racking. But I can see that my face is clearly in focus and selected on the little thing that shows what's selected, so I don't know what the camera's complaining about. I'm going to ignore the camera and carry on my own way. That agreement used to be called respect, re Taco Bell. Yeah. And sometimes people are so anti-capitalistic, and I just don't get it, you know? Capitalism is the system that favors us all. We enter into free agreements with one another based on the value that we believe that we can mutually provide. And a lot of people would say, oh, that's just capitalistic greed. No, that's socialism. That's not capitalistic greed. I mean, I guess if you're trying to somehow define capitalism that does not respect the concept of the free market, then I guess you can come up with some sort of capitalistic greed. But the free market greed is the enemy of the free market, because greed is you're trying to enforce someone to give you something that they don't mutually agree to give you. You're trying to trick someone, or you're not operating in the free market if you're trying to coerce or yeah. The free market is about exchange of value. think it's the legal system, the expansion of government that allows that sort of thing to take place. Because in the old days, somebody does that to you, you shoot them. The old westerns, you know. I challenge you to a draw, a duel, whatever it is. Okay, I think this is, I think going up and down here, I think this is all correct. I think my notify function is doing its right thing. This is doing its right thing. Everything should be working as it was working before, but now I should be able to go back into, let me go back into the README to show how this should be able to work now. So order verification. So now I can do order, and then I can do function notify. So notice I'm skipping over order verification. I'm just doing order now. And so now I can notify rec res next, and then rec.authIn is going to be the thing that has, you know, so let's say mailer.send, and I'm just going to come up with a really simple template as a demonstration of what this looks like. Your login code is, let me just do this, rec.authn.code. In which case, I don't think that we need that git code anymore, do we? So your magic link is here. Let's do it this way. Yeah. And then we'll say the body of the message, or let's say text, because there's going to be text in HTML is typically how this is done. Your login code is enter this login code when prompted. Or click this link. Or log in with this link. And then we'll put our HTTPS. Let's see, I should probably make this a little simpler. Let TPL equals rec.authn. There we go. We call, or we'll call it vars maybe? Let's call it vars. There we go. Vars.code, vars.code, vars.issuer, vars.id, vars.code. Okay, there we go. So this could be an example of what our notify function looks like. I don't know if I specified that elsewhere. Notify. And then we could do res.json, rec.authn.order. There we go. I think that's it. Okay, yeah, I think this is the update. So now we get rid of a lot of complication in the library code. We allow for a ton more flexibility. And this is what it looks like. I think this is right. Oh wait, why is this not It's not automatically updating. I must have an error in my syntax. There it is, right there. I must have another error in my syntax. Okay, that's correct. That's correct. So first of all, let's just get rid of this and see what happens. If I do this, does it fix it? No, it doesn't. Okay, so there must be some errors in my syntax here. Let me see if I can figure that out. So I'm going to copy this whole code block into a file and then see if it will tell me why it's upset. And then I'll copy the whole thing back. Okay, so blah.js, one of my favorite file names. It's always interesting when I open one and see stuff there. Okay, await is only allowed. Okay, 68. 68. Yeah, so we're going to need async on this, async on this. Yep, that's fine. And then what else are we going to need? That mailer.send is probably going to need an async here as well. Okay, so now I'll go down to the bottom, go up to the top, copy the whole thing, and then I'll go back to the README and I'll go from top to bottom and then I'll paste the whole thing. There we go. All right. So, we might want to move this function out, but that's essentially what the challenge function should look like. I like this a lot more. This is much more clear. Okay, let me make sure I've cleaned up, and then I think I'm going to call that good and go head into the office and grab some Taco Bell on my way in. I won't bother finishing this Mountain Dew because I'm going to have myself a little Baja Blast. It's going to be a blast, a Baja Blast. All right, do I need this, though? And what is order actually doing anymore? It's setting up all of this stuff. Oh, this thing with the set limits, this was actually done. Where did that go? That went, that to do became to done because that's what this was all about. Set limits, less than 20 keys, string values only, under 1 kilobyte total. But that really, I'm going to argue that's something that my library doesn't need to decide on. That's something that they can handle, oh, bless me, in their JSON parser. For example, just put a parser in front of all this code that says you only allow 1 kilobyte or something like that, which I think is reasonable. I don't even think it needs a kilobyte. I think that kilobyte's way too much. But yeah, I'm going to leave this code in here because it was here. But we're going to get rid of order verification in favor of order. Yeah, just much better. The one question I have is, could I get this all set up, this order result as well as this, maybe with the verifier? So say, what if we just put in here order is all of this stuff. Actually, we don't need code. Let's just say, boop, there it is. So there's the order. Let me get rid of this. I'll just say for the client. There we go. And we don't need this one. So that simplifies some stuff. So then the question becomes, could I wrap just this code right here and as something that rather than being used as a route is used like a library? What are the bits here that are really important? See this information? Yeah, I'd rather they just be able to specify on their own. I think the main value, again, is in the verifier here. The verifier is where it's got all the security logic that you don't want to get wrong, that you don't want to have to implement yourself. That's complex. This stuff right here, Not as much. Where else do we use verifier.create? Anywhere? Let's just look for .create in this library. There's going to be a few of them. Magic link create, verifier create. There are going to be some creates in these modules. Session create, verifier, verify create. So that's the only place where we have create. So I think what we might be able to do is move that entirely up. Well, let's take a look at the other routes too, because there's the check. Routes dot, I think I did I rename it check? So we got check status. Basically all that's doing is grabbing stuff, including the state. So the state are the arbitrary parameters. Verifier.check. Let me look at that one again. It's going to check validation there. So this might throw an error. If it's canceled, it'll throw an error. I'll go back and look at that README. Okay. So the goal is these changes I've made over the past couple days shouldn't break anything, and they should give us more flexibility. I think this is the right level of abstraction. We don't need the notify function there anymore. That's gone. I mean, we could have it, but we don't need it. Yeah, that just feels so much better. Say that's gone. So the store, really the store, we only need, these things seem to go not as part of the challenge. Let me go ahead and take a look here again. Let's go back into session. Let's look at challenge routes, create router, and the options that go in here. Let's go look at the top. Okay, ops, set defaults, verifier, init, by challenge true, blah, 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 blah. And then we're going to return the routes. Ops.issuer. Wait. Where did issuer become part of the ops? Oh, right there. That's where it became part of the ops. Okay. Maybe we should just have it be called issuer all the way down. Whoa! Nobody told me that I guess I did something like this to my hair earlier and then it went all floofy. A man's hair is all a man has. You know? It's important to get it right. Yeah, that's going to bite me in the butt. I don't want to have things that are going to bite me in the butt. Yeah, there's just so much legacy code in here that just needs to die. Makes it much harder to go through here and figure out what it is I'm trying to do in any given moment. So I think I was going to do this use code. What was that? Redeem code versus use code. Oh, but I'm not using use code anywhere, am I? Use code? Oh, no, I am. Okay, got it. So what do I need to do differently for use code versus redeem code? Let's look at redeem code real quick. The difference is having the handlers in place. And it's been another 27 minutes, so time for another reminder that if you like it, because you get more of what you like when you like what you like. And consider sharing with a friend, following, and subbing as you so desire if you want to. I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life unless we're talking about code, in which case I'm definitely trying to tell you how to live your life. All right. Okay, it might be time for me to just walk away from this for a few minutes. Anyway. So use code. And then does exchange code use code too? Exchange code. Oops. Exchange. So I could call this maybe use receipt. It's probably doing about the same thing. Yeah. Let's pull this out into use receipt. Cancel. Where's the exchange at? Right here. Okay. Routes dot use receipt. Okay. In an umbop, you're gone. In an umbop, you're not there. Don't know why I just said that out loud, but that was the song that for some reason popped in my head. Who knows what neurons fired to cause that to happen? The world may never know. Okay, so that looks right, that looks right, that looks right, that looks right. So these ones that I copied in new, I just ignore those. That looks about right. Except for this bit about the C state. Oops. Then is that not available here? Okay. Okay, so what's going on here? So exchange receipt, let me go check the use here. Where do we have? Verification is C. So authn.state is there. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's just keep that. Authn.state. And that's all we need from that, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So then this use receipt is now, yeah, now this is all good. Okay. So it makes me wonder if I shouldn't push this auth param stuff down one layer deeper. Because I kind of think I should. For example, this verifier.exchange. Let's go ahead and just go into verifier and let's go into exchange. And do we not already have this error? And then likewise, do we have any other developer errors at this level? Oh, what is this? Oh, bother. I probably shouldn't ignore that. Let's go ahead and just put some stuff here. So what's this function? That function is a handler. So let's go ahead and just plop this up here. Param. There we go. And then I guess this would be the request object, and then this would be a response object. I think. Is that what we're saying? Oh, whoops. Yeah, I wasn't sure what that's about. Let's go ahead and just make this like so, like that. Okay. And then it doesn't like this because it returns. I want it to be promise. And what is this a promise of? It's just a promise. Can it be a promise undefined? A void. Maybe void? There we go. Void. Hmm. Dang it. See, this is what I was talking about, where the type checker, the TypeScript type checker is not very good. So it doesn't know that a promise can have a dot catch if there's a wait in front of it. So I bet I could do like this and it would probably understand, but then Prettier, of course, is going to get rid of that because it's not necessary. Okay, and it's complaining at me. Promise has to have a type. Well, how about promise? Can I say promise is a promise? Yeah, look at that. So TypeScript doesn't understand JavaScript promises. That's ridiculous. TypeScript should understand promises. That is a fundamental, that's so critically core to JavaScript to understand what a promise is. I'm just going to say any, and then maybe it can. Huh. Now it's still saying that it doesn't exist on type void. Doesn't make any sense. Oh. Because function is not quite. Yeah, let's gosh. Okay, can I call this void then, or is it still going to complain? No. What? Oh, heaven help us. Come on now. This is a promise. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to TS ignore that one. There we go. All right. So we've got our order verification is in place with all of its nastiness. The order is in place. All right, we have check status. And again, there's just so little code as part of these that it just seems to make more sense to push a little bit more one layer down so that we get this nice object back. Well, it's essentially what we do get. So, let's see. ID. Yeah. Use code. And then the only thing that's different is that we get to specify what we want to hand back on this, right? Yeah. So it's just the front end, back end contract piece. Which, since we do want a front end piece for this, I'm trying to think of what that should look like. Because that's where we typically want to, we don't really want to add a lot of flexibility for that. For that, if you want to do it, you just kind of roll your own. Okay, but I think this is about right. Let's go ahead and do a git diff here. Let's do a git status first. Let's do a git log. Do we have any whip? Whippity whip whip McWhip? That's not very helpful in terms of what the heck was I doing. Oh. Let me just do this real quick. Let me stash and let me do git diff head tilde1. Okay, this one was just documentation updates. And what was this previous one? That looks like it starts with documentation updates. And then it's got some internal implementation changes that need to be tested. Ugh, testing this. That's what I need to do next. Ugh. Let me see. Is there a way I can make this easy to test? I think I do have some tests in the test folder that I might be able to adapt here. Basically, I just need to start up a test server and then run the test, and everything's going to be hunky-dory, right? Yeah, because I stubbed out the notify function to just be a print to console function. And I've got the thing in place to be able to do local development. Okay, let's see. What if we just do, get rid of all of the white space changes? By the way, if you like what I'm using for diffing, it's Delta. You can find it at webinstall.dev/Delta, along with the simple instructions you need to have your output look pretty much the same as mine. Gives you more of a GitHub style diff. So just lots of this code was moved into different places. I mean, I think it's right. This is one of those scary things where you just need more tests. Yeah. So for all of these, first of all, let's rebase with main, and then I'm just going to fold whippity whip whip in there because it's just doc updates. Get stash pop. And then again, let's just take a look at this. I start with some documentation updates. Oh, I need to add my code into here. We don't have a code bad ID. Let me go fix that. But we do have a code not found. Not found. I guess that could be a 404. That would make sense. Let's go ahead and update that as well. So we're going to go into, I think, errors. Makes sense to be a 404. Yeah, we'll do that. And then code invalid is a 400 or a 403, depending. Oh, bother. Crap. There we go. You have to have the pipe symbol in there. You have to escape it. Okay. I think that's all we changed on that front. Hey, how's it going? I'm AJ. Love to know who you are, what brings you here, and if there's anything that you'd like to learn. You can feel free to ask questions. Oh, and the bot wants me to let you know that I wanted to let you know about creedsofcraftsmanship.com, which is where I keep the curated list of all of my, well, not mine, but all of the, what's my curated list of the best presentations and talks, etc., posts, etc., about software engineering. So if you want to learn to be a disciplined software engineer, creedsofcraftsmanship.com is, is a great place to go for that. Okay, E-code retry. Do we want the E-code retry to be a 403? Let me check on that. 403. Code invalid. No, we didn't change code retry. So let me go back to that. Code retry. Do I want to change this? Let's just leave it there for now. All right, there's my get diff again. I'm going through, I'm just checking to see, did I change the things I intended to change and not change things that I did not intend to change? I do want to change those error messages slightly just to be more perfectly correct. So I'm going to flip this to failed validation, and I'm going to say it's true by default. And then I'm going to flip these to not failed validation, and I need to go flip that in the other place because I have a bunch of not failed validations that need to be changed. Oh yeah, I love Go. Go is that is, yeah, Go is the best. Yeah, ever since I saw the very first talk, because I saw it on the day they announced it, I downloaded the talk and I watched it in my car on a drive, if I remember correctly, because this was one of those pivotal moments of my life. You know, it's one of those things that when you have an aha moment like that, it's something you remember. If I remember correctly, I was driving home from my mom's house on the trip from Logan to Provo. And I wasn't really watching the slides. I was more listening to it, but occasionally I'd glance at it. I think I had it on my iPod. If I remember, I don't know if I had a Geo Metro back then or if I had my electric blue Millennium Falcon. I called it the Millennium Falcon. It was a 1985 Honda Civic. It was dope. I loved that car. I wish I could have gotten it repaired. The timing belt broke and it messed up the engine terribly, beyond repair, and there were no spare parts. That the mechanic couldn't find any spare parts for it. So I had to let it go to the dump. Broke my heart. That was such an awesome car. Oh my goodness. If I still had it today, I'd still drive it around. Anyway, but that's completely different. But yeah, I just remember, pretty sure I was in the car. Maybe it was the second time I watched it. But because I was investigating Go and Erlang and Node and trying to figure out which one was the right one to invest in. And I picked Node to be the one that I invested more in because the hype train. I knew that Node was going to catch on. But Go, I knew was a superior product. Now, when React came around, I had the opposite thing. I thought, oh gosh, people are going to realize that this is just a bunch of crap and then they're going to abandon it. Oh, how wrong I was on that one. Ugh. Anyway. So, yeah, rest in peace, Millennium Falcon.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
It's not quite the right soundbite, but I don't have the right soundbite. The right soundbite would have been, I made a lot of special modifications myself. That would have been the correct one, but, you know, we go with what we have.
We do what we must because we can.
Okay, now don't let me forget to invert this failed validation check in the other file. There was one other thing that I needed to do here. Was it redeemed? Yes. I need to make sure that redeemed is flipped. So this should be, this should also be failed validation. And it's important that it's failed validation, not past validation, because we're not actually checking that the validation failed. We're checking that the we're not checking that the validation passed in this particular regard. We're just checking that it didn't fail, which is that's different. It's significant. Okay, now I need to immediately go in to this other one before I forget, and I need to check for all the places where we have not failed. Oops. Failed. What? Am I in the wrong place? Lib verification. There we go. All right, let's see. Code invalid. Failed validation, failed validation, failed validation, failed validation, failed validation, failed validation. Okay, then we need to go back to redeemed. Yeah, that looks all about right. And then no double. And then failed validation is false. Yeah, there we go. Failed validation. Okay, so let's just walk through this. Just make sure we want to be passing to eCode redeemed if validation was failed. We're going to default that to true. And the main place where this matters is codes match. Codes match is where I think we could say pass. And then failed is not pass. So that's what we're looking for. Oops. So if we passed, we return after the checks. Okay. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So if there's any place we made a mistake, it's going to fail by default because we at least set everything up. Let's see, failed validation equals true by default. Failed validation is if it did not pass. And I want to make this more clear. Actually, just to be super, super clear, in case there's any mistake in the future, strict check. There we go. And then let's go make sure that that's the way it's set up in the error handler. Failed validation defaults to true. Failed validation defaults to true. Good. So we have to explicitly set it to have not failed. If we did not fail validation, then it can be a 400. Otherwise, it's a 403. That's right. And if it did not fail validation when we're checking redeemed, then that's a developer error. Okay, good. All of that's good. Boom. Yeah, it was a nice car. It was a terrible car because of the carburetor. The 1985 Honda Civic is every mechanic's nightmare because they had some wonky-donk carburetor. This was right at the time that fuel injection was being introduced, and Honda thought, we can create a wonky-donk carburetor. And this is why the car, this was its demise, was the carburetor, because when I complained that I was having trouble with the engine, they replaced the carburetor because it appeared that the carburetor was the problem. Indeed, there was a problem with the carburetor. There were always problems with that carburetor, but the actual problem was the timing belt. The timing belt was slipping because it was rotted. And so they replaced the carburetor because there was a problem with the carburetor and said, oh, okay, well, that must be it. Then it was still having problems. I took it to a different mechanic because I was in another city, and they looked at it and I said, yeah, the carburetor was recently replaced. They looked at the carburetor and they said, oh, yeah, the carburetor was installed incorrectly. Some of these vacuum hoses weren't put in the right place. The people that did this probably didn't have the right documentation. No, again, it wasn't actually the carburetor that was the main source of the problems. It was the timing belt slipping. And so then eventually the timing belt fell off, and that was the car's demise. Was in that sense, it was its carburetor that killed it. Oh, you had an 89 Mustang? Oh. Yeah, we'll have some Go sessions too. I haven't had a Go session in a while just because, well, I had one fairly recently, but most of the work that I'm doing right now is in JavaScript. And so that's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, I look forward to a time when I'm coding predominantly in Go. All right, where's the status? Okay, that error code is correct. The promisify handler. So really, I think I'm at a point where I just need to test this. I just needed to get it into a dev environment, or hopefully actually I can just update the test as is that are already in this code. So I'm going to do a whippity whip commit, except I'm going to give it maybe a slightly better name. Let's do npm run fumped on this. Yeah. Because I see a lot of places where it looks like there's white space, weird white space going on. I don't know what that's all about. Okay. Yeah, just going through everything looks right. So it's just time to write some tests. I think that's where we're at. Get rid of blah.js, update the readme, sure. I do want to run npm fumped. And I don't have that in my scripts, so I'll add it now. Let me go check real quick. npx prettier. I'm going to look for this in some of the other files that I've got. Boom. This looks about right. See, were there any other ones that looked better? This one looks even better. Indeed, that's from my Navigating Node in 2022 talk. Where did that presentation go? I think that's on the Utah.js channel. I might want to rebroadcast that onto the Beyond Code Bootcamp channel. All right, so we're going to put our thumped in here. There we go. There's our npm run thumped. I also need to get our npm run lint in here too. I'm not going to add that one yet. So let's do npm run thumped. All right. All right, here we go. And this is going to be whip. Well, I guess, do we call it whip? Yeah, whip. Beat. Library-ify verification. Let's say magic link. That's kind of what we're doing there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and push this up. Uh-oh. I think it's fine to overwrite that. I'm pretty sure that was just the, because I rebased. Okay. I'm going to go to main. I'm going to git add package. I'm going to do git commit -m. I'll call this chore add npm run thumped. And I'll just call this chore thumped and push -f. Whoops. I guess I didn't need the -f because I don't have it there at all yet. And then I'm going to go create my pull request here. Maybe make this a little bit smaller. Yeah, that's that. And then I don't know that I actually need to get an approval. At least one approving review is required by approvers with right access. Okay. So, oh, I've got 2 of these that need review. I'm going to throw these over at will. Let me make sure Will is added here. Collaborators. Okay, and now it's time for me to go get some Taco Bell. Interesting. What is Will's username on GitHub? I could have sworn I had it. Oh, it's because I put an @ sign in front of his name. There we go. Okay. Do. Sorry, I just have to do some stuff on the other screen. Because I do. You know what I'm talking about. Bum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, bum. Okie dokie day. All right. Well, thanks for joining in, everybody. Give it a like if you liked it. As always, for those of you that are on Twitch, please, somebody give me a list of these emojis and what they mean. Because I'm not part of Twitch culture enough to know, and no one will tell me. It's one of those things. Let me bring up this little gem from the 90s. Angelica. Let's see. If you have to ask, you'll never know. There we go. This is how I feel about Twitch memes. Just what do I do? Anyway, thanks for joining in. I hope that you all have a good day. I'm going to go get some Taco Bell and then head into the physical work office. I guess I'm in a physical place right now. This is physically an office, but I'm going to go head into my work office and continue my work there. And predominantly what I think it's going to be is just some really boring and tedious testing of what I've done, because I think I've got to the right place. And then I need to continue to integrate that into our product. And yeah, I think these changes are the right changes so that we'll have access to all the information we need access to, and we'll be able to have more invites going forward using a single system rather than having many different invite tables. So I'll probably do some more of this work on the stream as well, hopefully, so that you can kind of see how it all comes together. But that's what it is for now. And with all of that said, have a beautiful, wonderful morning, noon, night, brunch, lunch, whatever it is, wherever you are. Adios. Oh, wait, we should raid someone. Crap, who do we raid? We've got 30 seconds before this thing turns off. Let me see. I'm going to Twitch TV. I'm going to see if there's anybody for us to raid. Only a few seconds left.